We'll do a roll call first. We'll welcome Kevin Cosby, his first meeting with the Board of Aldermen. Welcome, Kevin. Nice to have you with us. Okay, John Egley's here, Eric McPherson,
Present.
Chris Balmacy,
Here.
Bernie Simons, on the phone.
Yep.
Okay, Lorenzo Durante.
Here.
Anthony Simonetti, he's not in attendance. Porter McKinnon.
Here.
Michelle Violet, okay, here's Kevin Cosby. Kevin.
Here.
Got to substitute your name on the sheet over here. One of the things, still the details. Okay, next portion of business order of the meeting will be the proclamation on Irish American History Month. Eric McPherson.
I'll be reading this on behalf of the mayor. So this is a proclamation proclaiming Irish History Month, and it starts with whereas the month of March is Irish American Heritage Month, a time when we celebrate the many achievements of Irish Americans and acknowledge the incredible contributions they have made to fabric, culture, strength, and prosperity of our nation. And whereas from the earliest days of our nation, Irish Americans have been proud, determined, tough, and hardworking. They have embodied the tenacious spirit that drives us forward as a nation. And whereas we celebrate our country's strong relationship with Ireland and its people, as Irish Americans have played a vital role in our nation's history and have made remarkable contributions to all aspects of our nation's development and growth. Irish Americans have spilled their blood to preserve our freedom and way of life, including more than the 150,000 who fought to save our union in our nation's darkest years during the Civil War. They have helped preserve our nation's most sacred values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Irish Americans have risen to the occasion with dignity, distinction, and honor to help move our nation forward. And whereas this month we salute their efforts that have helped shape the values and all that makes our nation great. We honor the countless ways Irish Americans have enriched our nation as we celebrate St. Patrick's Day on March 17th. We pay tribute to the formidable Irish spirit and resilience of Irish Americans and their contributions to our nation, community, and our way of life. Now, therefore, I, Mark A. Loretti, Mayor of the City of Shelton, do hereby proclaim the month of March as Irish American History Month. This seal is issued under my hand, an official seal of the City of Shelton.
Thank you, Eric. It's so nice to see so many people come out to hear that proclamation. Next comes the public portion. And the public portion of the meeting, each speaker has up to 5 minutes to tell us what's on your mind. We don't respond. We don't get into dialogue. It's not a question and answer session. It's a public portion to hear what you've got to say. And it will be timed, and when the 5 minutes is up, if you haven't finished, we're going to ask you to sit down because you never know how many people are going to be here that want to speak. So we'll start off. Does clerk have a list? You have a list?
No, they've all signed in.
Yeah, why don't you get the list? Before we go to the list, there's an item. Anybody that hasn't signed the list? When you sign the list, maybe we can get the first person.
Tom and Melissa Hammond.
And please state your name and address for the record, and then we'll say.
Okay. You hear me okay? Yeah. Tom Hannis, 11 Hidden Pond Lane, registered Republican and Vice President of United Healthcare in office here in Shelton on Research Drive. I want to first thank you for the opportunity to gather in this community here tonight. I also want to thank you all for your dedication, effort, and continuing to make the city of Shelton a better place to work and live. Families are here this evening to implore the Board of Aldermen and Mayor Loretti to fully fund the proposed Board of Education budget. This is truly a status quo budget. It does not aim high, meet in the middle compromise.
My wife has gone to every single Board of Education meeting throughout the budgeting process. Mr. Sternich and the Board of Education truly exhausted all efforts at providing the most valuable at reasonable cost. In fact, it was great to see a couple of Republicans vote in favor of the budget. We're all proponents of getting the most for our dollars. Unfortunately, after a long legacy of flat or extremely minimal funding, the school system is staying on a financial cliff. Luckily, due to COVID federal funds, basic school needs have been met, such as a much needed updated curriculum. Mental health professionals have been secured to help the students of our community through the extra difficulties COVID presented to us all. The children of our city have recently endured school shutdowns and distance learning. Test scores have suffered across the board as a result. With the recent new housing developments across our city, enrollment has indeed increased, especially this past fall. Classroom size have soared to unreasonable levels. Many of our elementary classrooms have 29 students to one teacher, with no teacher aide at all. I have personally witnessed loud classrooms, an unhealthy amount of disruptions, less resources and attention per student at times when students need extra help and attention to recover from COVID shutdown. Tutors were proposed for the older grades in elementary schools, but those did not come to fruition. Tutors are not the answer. We need well-planned, properly sized classrooms. Not fully funding the budget will absolutely mean that teachers will lose their jobs and classroom size will not be remediated. They will in fact grow larger across the whole district. So much has been squeezed out of the school system that is literally nothing left to cut besides educators. To be extremely detrimental to our education system. Fortunately, this year there is a solution. As discussed at the February 9th Board of Alderman meeting, there's a positive $10.7 million general fund balance, which half is unassigned. Apparently half was 4.7 million is being spent to lower taxes, apparently. It's hard to kind of grasp lowering tax making flat. I still can't wrap my head around that. Rather than reduce taxes for this overage at a time of inflation and extra educational and mental health needs, taxes should remain flat and the school system should be adequately funded, creating a win-win scenario for all your taxpayers and voters. The significant amount of new development within the city also brings a windfall of tax revenue. This budget does not even include any improvements that are truly needed. Again, it is bare bones status quo. So tonight, we as parents are here to say enough is enough. We are together on a campaign to make change. Education needs to be properly funded in our city. A petition was started in the fall regarding exceedingly large classroom sizes. Within days, 400 parents signed the petition. Over 100 parents showed up at the Board of Education budget vote. We have also funded and delivered 100 signs you'll see across our city. We are coming out together as a community to do what's right for the students and educators. Parents are more aware of this than ever of the abysmal education funding legacy in our city. I suggest you strategize and keep this in mind during the upcoming election. Thank you for your time and please fully fund the budget this year. Thank you.
Melissa Dario.
Hold on just a second, a word of caution. Please don't clap, please don't interrupt the speakers, and please give them your full attention so we can get through this process in a orderly fashion. Thank you. Next.
My name is Melissa Dario, and I live on 7 Hazel Court here in Shelton. I have a daughter in first grade and that's soon to be kindergarten this fall. I spoke this past fall when my daughter was placed in a kindergarten in a classroom with 28 other students. I couldn't believe that anyone would think that a 29-to-1 ratio would be okay, especially during such a crucial year in fundamentals. When I raised concern, I was told that I needed to attend the Board of Ed budget meetings. This was news to me as a first-time parent in the public school system, learning the ropes. In my mind, I thought, why wouldn't the city support the schools as they need to be supported? Well, I won't make that assumption again. So here I am, where I've been since the very first workshop at the Board of Ed. During the 5th workshop, we were told to send our children into the Bridgeport and Hartford school systems because it is those schools that get funded. That statement was quite unsettling to me. I'm not going to lie. The thought that my husband and I may need to move so that our children can receive proper education did cross our minds. How ridiculous and sad to have to think that way. This city of Shelton, Connecticut is capable of providing more. Now, I know this aforementioned statement was said as a response to feeling as though us parents were comparing apples to oranges. our school to other schools in surrounding towns that have received the funding over the past few years. Those 7 board members that voted yes were only trying to show why the financial cliff we are looking at is so much greater than others. We have a longer way to fall, especially now with the exhaustion of our grant money. As I stand before you today, I am asking you fully fund the Board of Ed budget. We are asking for this funding because it is needed, and it is needed because of the previous years of underfunding. We already have large class sizes, not enough teachers or staff to support our student body. A 29-to-1 ratio is not okay. On top of it, not having enough counselors, over 200-to-1 ratio, or paraprofessionals to help the students who need us. How are our children supposed to get the attention they need in an overcrowded and underfunded system? Even under the best of circumstances, kids can fall behind, but under these circumstances, it is as if we are challenging fate. If we keep digging ourselves in this hole, it's going to become a bigger problem down the road, one that will require even more to dig out from. If we do nothing, we're submitting to less than we are capable of and less than what our kids deserve. This is more than a right now conversation. This is a conversation about the future for our kids and what this district is headed for if we continue on the path we are on. This is no small amount of money that we are asking for. The contrary, I understand this, and hyperinflation that all families are dealing with and feeling. But this place where we are is not sustainable for far beyond a monetary standpoint. And that loss to me is worth even more. It is an equation that we must find the answer to, and for the sake of our kids. We are not asking for frivolous extras. We are asking for the baseline needs. The school and staff deserve better. The families that live here deserve better. And most importantly, the children of Shelton deserve way more.
Thank you.
Sarah Wilbur.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Wilbur and I reside at 37 Canfield Drive in Shelton. I have a 6th grader at Perry Hill School and a 4th grader at Booth Hill School. I am here tonight to ask that you fully fund the Board of Education budget that will be presented to you next month. I attended the budget workshops held over the last few months and cannot imagine cutting any of the requested items. It would be detrimental to our city. With the loss of continued federal grant funding, rising enrollment, and the increased need for SEL support, Shelton is at a financial breaking point. Something must change. We cannot afford any more staffing cuts. The elementary schools already have class sizes of 28 and 29 students, which is unacceptable and impedes learning. Hopefully, it is evident by the attendance here tonight and the fully fund the Board of Education signs around the city that taxpayers support a properly funded educational system. We have to remember that many of the students now will return to the city and be our doctors, accountants, real estate agents, and the list goes on. It only better serves everyone if they get the educational experience they need and deserve. With the surplus in the general fund and increased tax revenue from recent developments, this city can fund the Board of Education. Please do the right thing and approve the Board of Education budget request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica Myers.
My name is Jessica Myers. I'm at 27 Country Ridge Drive. I'm here to ask you all to consider fully funding the Board of Education budget. Our schools are the foundation of our community, and the quality of the education that our students receive will have a significant impact on their future success. As others have stated, the district has reached a point where there is very little, if any, extra left to cut. The lack of funding in our schools is resulting in overcrowded classrooms, outdated, broken, and an inadequate supply of technology, and a shortage of qualified teachers and tutors. My kids are currently in elementary school, and at the beginning of the year, one of my son's classroom had almost 30 children. Thankfully, the board was able to hire another teacher. I would hate to see budget restrictions require my son's class go from 3 classrooms to 2 again, along with any other classes, which would have to be combined. There are a number of classrooms at the elementary level, over 25 kids. With all of the new developments coming into the city, we should be anticipating even more enrollment increases and proactively hire new teachers and staff versus reactionary hiring, where the candidate pool would be significantly smaller after the school year starts. Another area of concern I have is that the counselor at their school is split between 2 schools. Pre-COVID, this may have been okay, but since the pandemic, more children now have more mental health and behavioral needs. It's not fair to the students or the staff to only have a counselor in the building half of the week. Cutting the school's budget is just going to exacerbate this issue. This is not only affecting the quality of the education of the education our students receive, but it also puts a strain on our teachers and staff who are truly doing their best to provide a quality education despite limited resources. On the surface, I realize the proposed budget seems like a big ask. However, given that there is a city budget surplus, meeting the Board of Ed's needs should have a minimal impact, if any, on taxpayers. Investing in education is not just about giving our students a better chance for success, but it is also about investing in the future of our city. Education is one of the key factors in economic development and growth. By investing in our schools, we are investing in our future workforce, creating new jobs, and improving the overall quality of life in our community. Underfunding and flat funding over the last decade is a mess. Now is the time to fix it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Mark Holden.
Excuse me, before you start, ladies in the back, there's plenty of seats up here in the front. On the right, there's at least 14 seats over here. You shouldn't be standing. Come on, don't be bashful. Come up and sit down.
Good evening. I'm Mark Holden, 275 Soundview Avenue. We are in budget season, and conveniently, you're also in the midst of changing the ordinance that determines the salary of the mayor. The last time Ordinance 884 was amended was 8 years ago. It set the mayor's salary for 2015 to 2016 at $119,176. In the proposed update to Ordinance 884, the mayor's salary would be set at $166,133 for the 2023-2024 year. That's an increase of just over 39.4%. In the budget for 2015 to 2016, the Board of Education allocation was $69,345,000. And we had 4,905 students enrolled. In the current year, we have 4,494 students enrolled, and the BOE budget request is for $80,371,637. If you adjust the Board of Education budget for the reduced enrollment and apply the same growth rate that is proposed for the mayor's salary, you would need to allocate $88,567,892. That's $8,196,892 more than they've asked for. You haven't met with the Board of Education, and already you've announced the $5 million request they've made isn't going to happen. Since 2015-2016, enrollment went down by 411 students, and budget constraints resulted in eliminating 71.5 positions. That's one employee for every 5 3/4 students. That's why class sizes are growing. The easy closing remark would be to suggest that the mayor learn to do as he asks of others, find ways to do more with less. Instead, I'm asking you to learn to be reasonable with the Board of Education and provide adequate funding so they can maintain programs and meet new needs as they develop. 5 years ago, Shelton schools were ranked 41st in the state. Anyway, 5 years ago, Shelton schools were ranked 41st in the state for student achievement based on standardized testing. We are now ranked 84th. This isn't a failure of the Board of Education. It's the failure of the mayor and the Board of Aldermen to provide the resources the Board of Education need to accomplish their task. Please fully fund the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next,
Jennifer Crusoe.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Caruso. I reside at 26 Laurel Drive in Shelton. I have a second grader at Bluefield School. I am asking all of you to please fully fund the Board of Education budget, or at least come close. The proper funding for education in our city has been severely lacking for many years. With the growth in our city over the past few years and increasing class sizes and demands, we cannot afford to not approve this budget. We already have too many classes where student-teacher ratios are unacceptable. If this budget is not funded, we will not even be able to sustain the bare bones for what our education system needs. And where does that leave us? Education is the answer to growth. I cannot sit back and let status quo be the answer. We need to do better. We must do better. Besides the basics that need to be handled, there's so much more in the education system that is lacking. The most personal example I can give is my family just recently lost my father, which has been a really big loss for all of us, especially my son. My son is taking this loss much harder than any of us could have anticipated. I have tried privately to get my son the help he needs. Unfortunately, I have been unsuccessful because he keeps getting waitlisted. As many of you already know, there is a large demand for mental health needs, especially in children right now. So my next step was to turn to the school, which has been wonderful in helping us where and when they can. The problem is that we don't have a full-time school psychologist for our schools. We must share this professional with other schools because of lack of funding. As an owner of a corporation myself, I completely understand the difficulty of making the right financial decisions and how everyone and everything needs funding and increased budgets all the time. But we have to prioritize, and the children and education should be the priority here. Thank you for your time and consideration.
thank you. Next,
Martha Parkins.
Good evening. My name is Martha Parkins. I reside at 15 Serene Drive in Shelton. Class sizes throughout the school district are extremely large, my daughter's class size being one of them. Her fourth grade class currently has 29 students. These large class sizes are a result of the 4 teachers requested in last year's budget that were not funded. With large class sizes and grant funding running out, we are in need of additional funding to best serve our students. I encourage you to listen carefully during the Board of Education's budget presentation on April 5th. Our students need every dollar of the Board of Education has requested in their budget. Educating our students is vital to their success as adults. They are the future. Our students deserve a solid education. I am hopeful you, as our elected officials, will keep this in mind when proposing and setting a budget for the upcoming year. Thank you for your time and consideration.
thank you.
Lauren, I can't read your last name.
Hi, I'm Lauren Moore. I live at 5 White Birch Court. I didn't write anything. I felt compelled to come out tonight, though. I got involved in the budget process many years ago and learned so much from the Board of Education, attending meetings, coming to these alternate meetings. And I'm actually not here tonight to ask you to fully fund the budget. What I'm asking you to do is fully support Ken Saranich. I've seen different superintendents come and go. Ken is completely dedicated to Shelton, to our kids. His budget request, actually, there's not much in it. He's got actually 2 really great staff at central office right now that really seem dedicated to trying to get things where they need to be. A couple of things that keep coming up is, special education costs are rising out of control. I've heard this like year after year after year, and I really, really encourage the Board of Aldermen, the Board of Education, start back with those collaborative types of meetings that you guys used to do from time to time. I wish you would have them again, because this actually isn't about this budget year. It's about next budget year too, and the one after that. And I think you need to start looking into the future. And sometimes, especially with special education, spending money, you will start to see that moving. And I think now is the time to do that. You know, a lot of what we've heard tonight, I know you guys have heard year after year after year. I was up here many, many times speaking about the importance of mental health professionals. I'm concerned, guys, next year that funding is gone. I don't know if any of you are on TikTok, but there's videos of what is going on with these kids in schools. And, you know, even on the city side, we don't have a social services department to help, and the wait list for mental health professionals is very, very, very long. I'm gonna leave it with this. I have 3 kids, and 1 in high school, 1 at SIS, and class sizes of 28 and 29. And I have 1 who is in elementary school still. Next year, 2 of my 3 children will not be in Sheldon public schools. I can't wait to see this turn around. I can't wait for the funding to come to add the teachers, to bring the class sizes down. So that way the kids are in proper learning environments that aren't as chaotic with that many bodies in a classroom. I'm hoping, you know, you kind of listen to what I'm saying. You know, I've been around, I've done my homework, and I think it should mean something that 2 of my 3 kids will not be in Sheldon public schools next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure this name, Gina? Yes, Gina Colgan.
Hi, my name is Gina Colgan. I reside at 62 Blueberry Lane, and I have a 4th grader at Blue Hill School. And I'm just here to ask you to please support fully funding the Board of Ed budget. Thank you.
Christine Scarpetti.
Hello, my name is Christine Scarpetti, 361 Buddington Road. I have 2 kids at Blue Hill Elementary, a 3rd grader and a kindergartner. As a parent of children in Shelton schools and a child in special education, I'm truly concerned over this year's budget. As I appreciate all the efforts shown by the Board of Ed, I'm still at a loss. I'm saddened by the status of our special education program in town, and honestly cannot sit back and stay quiet. I'm aware you cannot be everywhere, but I ask all of you to ask questions. Visit a kindergarten classroom if you can, TLC program, ALC program, or any other sped program in our schools, or even just talk to staff or parents at that. There are children in this district that are not receiving all the services or amount of services they're supposed to, documented in their IEP, due to lack of a body in school to provide that service. There are teachers enduring injuries from children because they are the only certified staff to handle that situation. There are special education teachers posted to sub in other classrooms, leaving their children without supports. There are classrooms of young children needing to stay in place because children are in their classes or running out, yelling, screaming, or possibly even hitting others. There are administrators going above and beyond and filling in as a tutor or other positions just to help meet criteria. There are staff members filling in as psychologists because staff is being split between times at schools. There are clerical errors and missing information from student files and records that should not be happening. These are just a few things that I'm naming. Numbers in special education are continuously growing year to year. We all know that. But proper staffing and training is required. The Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act requires states and local education agencies to provide free and appropriate public education to children with disabilities. The inconsistencies and unstable environment is causing havoc and anxiety in all of our children, typical or not. These are 2 important things that are very important in education, both of which support social, emotional, and cognitive development on a number of levels. It's important for these kids to feel safe and to learn to build relationship with their peers and their staff. Children who are safe and secure in their environment and with the people around them are more likely to engage in frequent age-appropriate conversations. Children who are comfortable are more likely to participate in learning opportunities and demonstrate less aggressive behaviors and build confidence. It's not fair to these kids who need solid leadership and role models, and not fair to the staff who's being completely stretched too thin. Although I myself did not move to Shelton for the reason mentioned in the Shelton Herald recently, and I'll read you the quote. It said, "Our systems have a reputation of diligently providing for students with needs, and that is why households move into Shelton because our school system provides for and supports all learners. I did, however, move here for lower taxes years ago. Enough is enough, however. Children should not be expected to fail before adequate services and supports are put into place to help our children thrive. My children and all of our children deserve way better than this. Thank you."
Molly?
Hello, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Molly Moe, and I live at 23 Shag Park Road. I have two children in the Shelton school system. I have a kindergartner and a third grader. I'm coming as a parent, but also an educator in the classroom for 8 years, and now as a school counselor for 7 years. And I'm fully imploring you to fully fund this budget. Speaking from a parent, but also an educator, I'm seeing the deficits and how they're impacting students. If students can't be regulated, they can't be educated. And when I say regulated, just regulated their emotions to get ready for the day. And so when they're coming to school, they're expecting to have their needs met educationally and emotionally. And when we have lack of funding and lack of staff, and I'm not going to repeat everything that all these wonderful people who prepared statements did, but the bottom line is, I go back to a phrase that my father taught me: is it a need or a want? And so this is an absolute need. This is not a want. And so I am asking you to fully fund this budget the first time it is proposed and give back to our children, because if you look at it as a business, they are our investment. And if you invest in these children now, the return on that investment will come tenfold. So please, fully fund. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Jerry?
Good evening, Jerry Boom, 24 Fairfield Avenue. I see Mayor Loretti is conspicuously absent tonight at this very important gathering. I obtained a copy of the itinerary for tonight, and I did not realize how well off Shelton is. Shelton is proposing to buy a combination jetback cleaner for $646,672.25. Granted, it is a handsome and capable machine. However, I doubt if it's really necessary. What really blew me away, everyone here is talking about the education budget, how it needs to be fully funded, yet Shelton has put forth to purchase, get this, batting cages for the total sum of $27,000. I didn't think anything could beat that, but Shelton now wants to put swimming lanes in the community swimming pool for the sum of $5,242.06. That comes to $32,242.06. This is totally unnecessary. When I was a boy, we did not have batting cages. We did not even know what they were. Nonetheless, we enjoyed playing baseball virtually every day. Shelton has the funds to fully fund the Board of Education. I encourage you all to do that. And last but not least, My personal peeve, which I have been addressing this committee for now several months, is the fraudulent threat that everyone faces. I submitted a copy of the executive order by the mayor of Schenectady, New York, who really did a good deal to combat these fraudsters, who, as I've stated in the past, has their only goal to create chaos and controversy and ultimately sue the city. All Mayor Liberty had to do was change 1% of the executive order from the Schenectady mayor's executive order to put that in place. He is not. I am very disappointed in him. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ellen?
Hi, my name is Ellen Thomas. I live at 303 Nichols Ave. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I emailed the Board of Ed a couple of months ago, a thank you letter, and I just want to quickly summarize it here, and then we can move on. I want to thank the Board of Education members for all their hard work in supporting my son and the students of the Shelton school system. I truly believe that the superintendent and Mrs. Santilli are amazing leaders who always put students first, and it's wonderful that we have them working in Shelton. I did speak briefly at the Board of Ed about hiring a third first grade teacher for my son's class at Blue Hill School, because he had 30 kids in his class. And they did. You know, we all came that night and we asked, and I didn't have a hope for it. And they listened to us. And I really think that kind of shows you that they listened and that they're open and they found a way. And I'm hoping we can find a way to reach some sort of compromise, or as the sign now says on my lawn, fully fund the budget. My son's class went from 30 to 20, and it was an incredible difference in his day. My son has learning challenges, and by hiring that third teacher, the noise and the volume went down in his classroom, so he didn't need his headphones. And I know that sounds silly, but you know, he could just be a regular kid and just be in the class and just, you know, deal with the regular 20 kids that you have in a first grade classroom. And he did wonderfully this year, and that's no small part due to the amazing special education teachers, the principal who's incredible at that school. My son benefits daily from a parent tutor support, and he works very closely with Mrs. Streeman, the school social worker, along with the other specialists. And because of this, he's at the top of his class, and he's learning and he's socializing with other typical peers. I want to preface my next statements by saying I do understand and sympathize with the monetary limits of any school district budget. I am also a big believer in compromise, and as a kindergarten teacher myself, I understand that, you know, we might have to meet in the middle, and the dream can't be, you know, the whole budget. But what I'm really asking for is that staffing be made a top priority when allocating these funds. It's absolutely critical that my son's school and all the rest of the elementary schools and all the schools at large maintain the same amount of tutors, parent instructors, and full-time special education staff for the upcoming year and the years to come. It's also critical that the class sizes remain between the typical ones of the other DIRGs around us and the other towns, which is 20 to 25, especially at the lower grades. This is in order for the students to be grouped appropriately and responsibly, especially when you consider their IEP programs and support systems. My family absolutely loves everybody at Blue Hill. The staff is amazing. The math and reading specialists are essential pieces to the growth and development of all the students at Blue Hill. And finally, Mrs. Marks is the best principal, period. I just would love it if you could maintain or increase the staff at Blue Hill School and the other schools for the 23 and 24 budget in order to secure this growth and development of our children in a positive way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's it.
Anyone else?
We're done.
We're done? Okay, I want to thank everyone for coming. I know how important this is to you. And I want to assure you that we have not, the Board of Aldermen has not received the budgets yet. It'll be on about the 22nd or 23rd of March, when we'll enjoy session with the Board of A&T. We'll receive the budget from the mayor, his proposed budget. I just want to remind those of you who are interested in this, that what we have done the last several years, really since the superintendent Saranich has come on board, and I think he's here tonight, and I'd like him to at least put up his hand, just so you know he's here, that we have confidence in him as you do. And we have worked closely with him, and he will attest to that. And we will continue to work closely with him, and we will continue to talk to him. We have to listen and talk to the mayor, who's going to propose a budget. A&T is going to hold hearings. The Board of Education will come and meet in joint session with the aldermen and the Board of A&T. And we will openly discuss the issues and ask questions. That's what we've done in the past, and that's what we intend to do this year. And we feel we've had relatively good success. I don't want to get into the history of it, and I don't want to start preaching, but simply just to assure you that we appreciate your concerns, and we appreciate the fact that you came here tonight to let us know of your concerns, and that we will work very closely with the superintendent and the Board of Education. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate all you had to say. Thank you. You don't have to applaud. But we're going to start the meeting now, so if you'd like to stay, you're welcome. If you feel you want to leave, if you can. All right, so now, well, we have an item to add to the agenda, so Alderman McPherson, would you like to add the item 9.1?
Yeah, we'll move to amend the agenda to add item 9.1 that comes to the public hearing. It's a 9.1B. It's an amendment to code of ordinance.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, motion made and second for discussion. No discussion, it's added to the agenda, so moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moved. 1.1 Board of Aldermen regular meeting of February 9th, 2023, minutes for approval.
Move to waive the reading and approve the following meeting minutes. Board of Aldermen regular meeting February 9th, 2023.
There a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, discussion. Any changes, no changes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Item number 5.5, there are no items from the Finance Committee. 5.2, no items from Public Health and Safety. Their meeting has been postponed because of one person missing and one person out on vacation. So it's going to be the 16th, I believe.
Yes.
Postponed to the 16th of March. Street Committee, there's no items. No report of the mayor, no report of the president. I've got to let the report to the mayor about tonight's meeting, but he'll get the minutes instead, so that's good. Item from public hearing, no items. 6.1, 7.1, funding for purchase of 3 school vans.
Move to appropriate an additional amount of $13,017 for 3 Shelton student transportation vans with funding to come from aldermanic bonding pursuant to section 7.16 of the city charter.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's discussion. This is an example of one of the things that's going on. Last time I spoke to the superintendent, we had discussed the vans, and we wondered where they were. And a little bit, you got the inflation, and a little bit you got all the other excuses. Well, lo and behold, and it's good news that we were able to reduce the price of the 3 vans by $13,000. And now we got them, and hopefully it'll be here soon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. They'll be on the way tomorrow. 8.1, March statutory refund.
Move that the report of the tax collector relative to the refund of taxes for the total amount $17,760.56 be approved, and that the finance director be directed to make payments in accordance with the certified list received from the tax collector with funds to come from the statutory refunds account.
There's a
Second.
motion made, and seconded, is there discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered unanimously. Item 8.2, funding for wood recycler for highways and bridges.
Move to appropriate an amount of $523,411.20 for the purchase of a wood recycler for the Highways and Bridges Department, with funding in an amount of $461,105 to come from the 2021-2022 aldermanic bonding pursuant to section 7.16 of the city charter, and an amount of $62,307 to come from the 2022-2023 aldermanic bonding pursuant to section 7.16 of the city charter.
There's a second.
Second.
There's a second, is there discussion?
I have a question. How is this tied? Oh, it's not on. Okay. How is this tied to the 21-22 budget?
Good question. Good question, Kevin, I'm proud of you, that's a good question. No, really, it's a good question. I mean, his first time he's sitting at the table, so he didn't know the background, but it's good. His first person knew it, but didn't pass that. But, in effect, what happened is, we found there was some, spending that we had bonded for, that we had to, reallocate. And because otherwise it was going to be subject to taxation. So we reallocated and we took it out. And what we did was we then freed up money in that fiscal year's bonding. So we're going back and using that money that was available on. Because you're only allowed to bond up to 2% of the grand list each year. 2% of the grand list is 2% of the money that's allocated for spending 127 million.
Right.
So you only get 2%, so you really can't bond beyond that. So that's why we're going back to take advantage of that, so we don't lose it. Because you don't bond and every year that, you allocate the money, and you spend the money. There's sometimes that spending takes multiple years before it happens. So you always have stuff outstanding, but when you get enough available, you either bond or you take a note from the banks.
Right.
Whichever
So
is best.
so you collect money, well, you collect motions, the bond money, and then go out and bond it all at once.
Right.
But
Well, we do.
but was this money previously bonded in 2021?
No, this money's not bonded yet. That year's not bonded. It may not be bonded. We haven't bonded in a while. Reason we don't bond is because when we bond, we found we were incurring $100,000 in legal fees just to bond, just to get ready to go out to bond. And the bond rates that we were getting were terrible. They were like 4 or 5% back then. And what happened was we went out and the last borrowing we made, we got an interest rate of 0.5%. So it was good incentive to do that.
Right, go to the banks. I'm just wondering.
So that's
how,
why.
and, you freed up money in the previous year, that's good, it has to be spent, but as a bond, how can we justify it as being on 2021 if this was not
Yeah, we
bonded?
haven't bonded.
Well, I mean, we're putting it under a bond motion.
Is allocated.
Yeah, because we can bond or borrow, whichever we do. We can do that and we freed up that money and we can use it.
Okay, you freed it up from something else.
Yeah.
So without
What was it? Fran, you remember what it was that we freed up?
I don't. But, I mean.
Kelly, do you remember?
But are we putting it on the 2021 budget because we're close to the 2%?
No, it doesn't go in the budget. Bonding doesn't go in the budget.
No, I mean, you have that 2% limit. Are we close to that 2% limit for this year? And that's why we're putting it on
Yeah,
last year.
we've got the revised bonding schedules that we can give you. You can see it, well, how much we freed up, how much we've got, how much we're still available for those years. We passed it out last year, didn't we?
And it's only a certain amount.
Yeah, we're only allowed in 1 year to appropriate 2% towards automatic bonding. But it's like, if you don't use it, it doesn't carry over, does it?
If you don't use it, you don't lose it. All right, you can borrow, by charter, you can borrow up to 2% of the amount that's allocated in revenues. So we've always used it, we've always maxed it out every year, because we never have enough time. And we did max it out in those years in question, 2021, 22. But unfortunately, it had to be revised because it was going to be, what's something to do with education. There's something to do with education. I think, you know what I think it was? I think it was, Fred, listen to me for a minute. I think the issue here was the money that we paid to the city of Bridgeport for there was a lawsuit with the city of Bridgeport. We owed them special education or some kind of student funding, tuition funding. And we had paid them using the bonded money. And then what happened was the auditors picked up on it and said, if you use this and pay them, you've got to pay taxes on it. And so we had to redo it, and we redid it, and redid the bonding, and paid it out of general fund surplus. And then we were using the bonding for something else. That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah. Any other questions?
And it just feels like this appropriation should have some sort of connection to that year in order for us to bond.
That's what?
Put it on that year's fiscal budget.
It is. It is.
But we're proposing it this year.
It's outside the budget. Outside the budget.
It's outside. But not outside the 2% limit. I keep on saying budget, I mean the 2% limit. It's within that 2%.
I don't know.
It's not within that 2% limit for this year.
I don't understand the question. Say it again.
So we're saying we're charging this against the 2% limit that we have to appropriate towards automatic bonding for the 2021 year
21-22, right?
instead of this year, and we're splitting it.
Well, the reason we're doing that we had $461,000 available in that year, but the cost exceeded it by 62,000. So we had to make it this year.
Okay, so there's money that was already appropriated for bonding that we have to spend a different way, basically.
Yeah, we spent all that, we spent the 2020, 21, 22. Right? I hope later questions are this. Okay, any other questions? All right, being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered unanimously. Item 8.3, we're not ready, no action is going to be taken on that. 8.4, funding for batting cage at Shelton Intermediate School. Where is what's his name? He left. Too bad. Jerry Bourne, okay. Put motion on the floor.
Move to add the purchase and installation of a batting cage at Shelton Intermediate School Field to the capital improvement plan with funding in an amount of $20,795 to come from LoSiP.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion made and second. This came from the Parks and Recreation Department. And it was for, I believe, the girls batting. And anybody have any questions on it? Any observations? Anything you want to say about it? And it always seems like a lot of money. You know, but that's the way things are today, a lot of money.
Yes, well,
The 20,000 is, the amount of use that this will get for a number of years. Is pretty good. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered unanimously. Item 8.5, funding for tree removal along Riverwalk at Veterans Memorial Park. Those are eligible.
Move to add the removal of hazardous dead trees along the Riverwalk at Veterans Memorial Park to the capital improvement plan with funding in an amount of $2,350 to come from LoSiP.
There's second.
Second.
Motion made, second, discussion. I tend to do too much discussing, but for the benefit of Mr. Costi, who's sitting here for his first time, you're familiar with what LoSiP is?
It's the local
yeah,
capital improvement project,
Right.
money provided by the state.
Right, it's money that we receive every year from the state, certain amount, only $200,000-300,000, but it can be spent for only certain things, and this is one of the things it can be spent for, so we spend.
And we certainly want to keep
And we
the
keep,
Veterans Memorial Park with that.
yeah, we keep a running tally, so you know exactly what we should do.
Right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered unanimously. 8.6, funding for the girls softball batting cage on the Ingrove Field at Riverview Park. Oh, that's the one.
Move to add the purchase and installation of a girls softball batting cage on Midgrown Field at Riverview Park for the capital improvement plan with funding in the amount of $7,000 to come from LoSiP.
There's a second. Okay, I had to mix up the first one is at the Shelton Intermediate School. More education funding. This one here is for the girls for the Riverview Park. Any other questions? No questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered unanimously. 8.7, funding for pool lane lines at Shelton Community Center, LoSiP eligible.
Move to add the purchase and installation of lane lines at Shelton Community Center pool to the capital improvement plan with funding in the amount of $5,242.06 to come from LoSiP.
Second.
This, second,
Yes.
motion made, seconded, discussion. Would somebody explain why we need the black lines on the bottom of the pool? It's simple. The answer is simple. So you don't swim in circles. Because without the lines, you're gonna swim in circles. Isn't that the answer? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Or, okay. Now, the next group of items from 9.1A to 9.1G are all ordinance changes and all items to go to public hearing. And that will be on March 28th. So you are receiving them only for your information so that you can be ready when they look, do your research and know what's going on before the 28th. But that's all that these are presented for, and that's by charter. You have to submit it to the alderman.
Do we need the motion to schedule the hearing though?
Pardon me?
Do we need to make a motion to schedule the hearing?
No, we just have to refer them to public hearing. I don't think the motion is necessary.
Motion's not necessary.
You have to receive them, we have to demonstrate and make part of the minutes that we presented them. And that's it, there's nothing further to come before the board, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion? Any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Or? Well,